In this lecture we're talking about templates, which is a way that we can create a common look among all of our pages and make it really easy to add new links into our pages without having to edit every single page within our site. First we'll talk about the include statement, then we'll talk about the require statement, then we'll talk about include once and require once, then we'll talk about two ways that we can implement templates. One way is to include the content into the template using a switch statement, and another way is to include the template into the content. Okay, now a lot of you, especially if you have taken the 240 class recently, if you're not using any special software, this might be how you start to develop your site. First of all, you're kind of create your first page and you'll develop some sort of layout. So maybe we'll put some sort of header bar right here, a banner bar or something up here. You might have an advertisement up there, or maybe some sort of logo from your site. And then you'll probably create a section, for a sidebar that has navigation in it. Links to all other pages, and then you'll have content area. This is where the main content of the page goes, and then maybe some sort of footer area right there. Then maybe right here we'll put, since this is the navigation, we'll go ahead and we'll start making links in this. So maybe a home link. I'm going to call this template because that's the name of my page, but I'll call this home. And we'll make a couple of these right here because we want our site to have more than one page. So here's the links that they can go to through different pages, and maybe right here. So then maybe an about, links to other pages, and maybe a resume or something like that. And so now that we've created these links on the page, we'll go ahead and bring it up. Okay, so right here we have the banner bar, the sidebar navigation. Of course, I'd have to style it and try to get the content over here so that it'll look nicer. Maybe if I take off all these line breaks over on this side, it will look kind of have a navigation bar on the top or something like that. And we'll refresh it. Now we have the links up here. So that's probably how you start to do your page. And now let's say that we have our home page done. We go ahead and we fill this up with some home page content. Kind of separate this out. And this is the page you want people to see when they first come to your site. And now you're ready to start working on some other sites. So you'll probably start a new one, and you'll go, well, okay, let's copy this right here, my old one, put it in right there, and then save this template to whatever, and then you'll just go on, and then what we'll do is we'll replace this with, say, the about page right there, and then we'd save that one, and then we go on and creating them. Now let's just assume that we created 4 pages here, and now we decide, well, I really want another page that has a list of all of my assignments or projects that I've done. Maybe we'll call it a portfolio page. So we'll add this in on our home page, right? I don't need that PHP there. And so now on our home page, we've added on a portfolio link right here. But now what we'd have to do is we'd have to open up these other 3 pages and add it in there, and then we copy and paste this over. And then let's say our page now has, say, we're doing this for a company and they have lots of pages, and so let's say that they're on the order of 25 to 30 pages, and now you want to add a link onto every single one. Or maybe you just want to redesign something. Maybe you got a new logo that you want to put in. Well, you'd have to open up each and every file and put it in. And so that would be really time-consuming and thoughtless work. And our goal is to try to make things fast. So this would be a slower way of doing this. It's just with copying and pasting. What would be nice is if we can maybe save content in other files and then edit it once and then kind of have it get copied and pasted automatically into all the other files. So that's what we're going to learn about today, is how we can save certain information, like say our navigation bar, and we can put this just in one file, and then we can have it get copied and pasted into a whole bunch of different files. Okay, so to show you how this works, the first thing that we'll do is maybe the sidebar navigation should just be in some other file right here. So we'll create a new PHP page. We'll save this as sidebar.php here. Save it in the right spot. So now I have this sidebar file. I also have this sidebar right here. So I'm going to take out this div tag here. There's my sidebar, and I'm going to put it into this other file right here. And we'll just save that. I'm saving it as a PHP page, even though it just has HTML in it. Okay, so let me get rid of that. Now, right here, we could go into a PHP code block and we can do what is called an include sidebar.php. Right there. Now I haven't saved anything, but let's look at this page if it wasn't there, first of all. As you can see, the sidebar has disappeared, and now we'll include that file right there, and now we have a sidebar. Now our sidebar shows up even though it's in another file. So what happened is this stuff right here, since it's in this file, gets copied and pasted right here where we put this include statement. So an include is just a way to just grab another file and it copies or puts the contents of that file right here into our PHP page. So as you can see, even the view source, we can see that this sidebar thing showed up. Now one thing when we start doing that, the tabbing kind of, it's kind of hard to get it to look right in the source, but what we really should care about is our PHP files right here. So there we go, we got a sidebar navigation. And now if we needed to add a link into all of our pages, well, let's say that now we're going to add a partners page or something like that. And once we do that, we add it into not only this page, but every other page that included the sidebar. So if we had 5 or 6 pages, say all of these pages up here, and we included the sidebar in, then we could just change it in one file, and then it changes it on all of our pages that are including that sidebar. And so that's the advantage of using this include. Now there's also something that we can do, and this is a require. Require and include do almost the exact same thing. In fact, right here we won't even tell the difference. The difference is between include and require. If I misspell sidebar, if I forget the A right there, and didn't spell it right, if you notice the include, we get a warning right here, and it said that it failed to open the stream, no such file, or directory, and kind of get the warning twice right here. So that's what will happen with an include. But if you notice, we go ahead and we finish up the page, we get our home page and our footer is there and everything else. So the PHP didn't quit, it just kind of warned us that it couldn't find the file and kept going. Now with the require statement, it tells us that we can't find it, and then it says fatal error, and if you notice, the home page and the footer have disappeared. So with a require, it just stopped execution completely. So you can use either one. It's up to you to decide. Include just kind of makes more sense to me to include something in than to require. So a lot of times I just use include. But if you want your program to quit, you should probably use require. So and in this case, we probably do want it to quit if we really want to know that there's an error there. So require is probably the better option to use for on most cases, unless you would like it to be there, but you still want the page to get drawn up if it wasn't there. So that's include and require. Just remember that require quits if it can't find the file. Include will keep going on. It will print out warning messages, but it will keep going on. So for this lecture, I'll be using require, making it quit if we don't find the file. Now there is something else that we can do. Let's say that for some reason we want to have two copies of our sidebar on there. Then we can just require it twice. It will do 2 copies and paste right there. So we get it twice on our page. There's also a function called require once. Right there. And when we do that, then we only get it once. Now we called it twice, but we're only getting our sidebar navigation once. So what require once means that it's only going to copy and paste the file in once. And right now you might not know why you really want to do that, but actually when we do start requiring things or including things, and we really want to have this once thing on most instances. Now there are cases where we might have some stuff and we want to put it on this page twice, and then we wouldn't include the once, we just include require. A lot of times what we're going to include a lot of helper functions and stuff in some more advanced lectures, and if we include them more than once, it'll actually cause us problems. So and it might be a little confusing. Well, can't you just look in this entire page and make sure you've only required it once? well, maybe there's another file called sidebar helper or something like that, and I guess you'd probably want to include the helper first right here. Now there is no file named sidebar helper, but maybe then in our sidebar we also require the sidebar helper once here. So what would happen if we didn't have this require once, we'd include it up here, and then we'd require the sidebar, and then we include it again up here. So we'd end up putting this sidebar helper in twice, and we really only wanted it once, but we didn't realize it by including this. We also included it up here. So require once, we'll just make sure that we only get it in once. There's also an include once, which does the same thing, but now if you notice, there was no error. If we did include it twice and we called require once, it just makes sure that it's only included once. So that's the basic functionality of include and require. And there also no include once and require once. So and include once, and yeah, I guess save that. There we go. So there's an include once and require once too. Now that we've learned how to use include and require, I'm next going to show you how we can create a website that has the same look and feel on each and every page. What I mean by look and feel, we have the same, the same header bar, the same navigation, we have the same footer, and information down here, and as we click on pages, the content in the middle, this content will change to reflect the information in the new page. And then if we want to add a link, we should only have to add the link into one page. Or if we want to change maybe the banner bar, we should only have to change it once. So the goal of using include and require is to make sure that we only change things once. So I have a basic template here. I'm going to save this one in my web directory. I'm going to call it index.php. Okay. When I save something as index.php, what that allows me to do, and this is that root directory, what that allows me to do is it allows me to, without typing index.php, it allows me to go right to a web page, right from the directory. So this is the default page. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about that in your 240 class. So when we go right to my web directory, which is right here, for you guys it would be, or for people using the IS2 machine, it would be your username, the is2.byuh.edu, and you press enter, and that will be the page. The index.php or HTML page will be the one that pulls up. That's a good way to have your home page. So instead of having that be, say, template, we'll say have it be index.php, and create an about.php link and a links.php. So I'll have 3 web pages here. Now there are 2 ways that we can do this templates. The first way I wouldn't suggest doing for your website because it's a little bit harder to add more pages in. But this might be a way, something that you can do if you have a really small website. So we have the base set up here, and right here is going to be where the content goes. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll put in a PHP block, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable, and we're going to get from the query string a variable called page, and then we'll switch on that variable. A lot of you might remember this from your from the conditional and the case lectures that you just finished watching. And then we can go case about, and make sure we have a break. Case links, and then default right here. So right here, what I would do, what you've seen that we can do is we can break out of our PHP mode and enter into our PHP mode again for the break statement, and then I can include the content for the about page right here. So, and then we can also do this right here, and here we'll have our home page. So now when I refresh this, we see we have the home page right there. And then if I go $page equals about, then we should get the about page. And that's if I put my $sign right there. Okay. And so now we get the about right there. And then what we do with these links right here, make them all point to index right here, and we could go $page equals about, and page equals links. And so now when we click on these different links, we get something different each time. I haven't put any content for the links page yet. So once we start doing this, if we really have a lot of content right here, this switch statement and this PHP page might get really, really big. So instead of breaking out of our PHP right there, and going back into it. Now, another thing, if you noticed, I made my home page the default. That way when they just go right to the website, they'll just get the home right there. They'll get the home page as the default. That's why I made it the default. But instead, what we can do here is we can include or require. And I'll do require because if we don't have our main content, there really isn't a reason to have the page up there. So we'll do a require statement. There's no reason to try to continue if we couldn't find the file. And last but not least, we'll require home.php. And so now we took, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the content and we're going to put it in these pages. So here we'll go h2, it's my home page. Save this PHP. And now that we've saved that there, you click on home. There we go. We included that home page content. Now I can create a similar page for the links and a similar page for the about. I'll do one more for the about. And we'll save this as web directory about.php. And now we get the about page content right here. So with this model, what we've done is we've created our basic template right here, and we put in a switch statement, and the switch statement lets us include different things with include different pages right here. This works well if we really don't have a lot of pages to put into our website. So one page that or one website that works a lot like that is Wikipedia, because the content is really different, but the content's all coming out of a database. So basically they have one main page that is look for this content in the database under this title and pull it up and put the content in the middle. So PHP, or for Wikipedia, which is built with PHP, they probably do something like this switch page. Now they might have a login page and a couple other pages, but they really don't have a lot. So a switch statement works really well in their case. But what I suggest now, or the name that I'm going to give this, or how you can distinguish, is we are including the content into our template. So the way that I think will be easier for you in the future, because you're going to end up creating a lot of different pages, is to include the template into the content, which is the reverse. So what that means, you're going to get rid of all of this. I'm going to create a new page here, and I'm going to save this one in my web directory as header.php. Then inside of it, I'm going to grab all of that stuff, all of the stuff that goes before the header right here, or before the content, and I'm going to put that right here. So now this starts off with the doc type, all the HTML, the beginning body tag, we have the header, the banner bar, the side navigation bar, and the opening div tag for our main content area. Okay? And next, I'm going to take this stuff right here, I'm going to start a new one. I'm going to save this one as my web directory, footer.php. So now we have a header and a footer, and if you notice, the footer right here has the ending div tag for the content, any content that goes below the main content, the ending body tag, and ending HTML tag. So the header has everything that goes before the main content, and the footer has everything that goes after the main content. So there's our header and our footer. So now what do we do with the index.html page? Well, here's our home page right here. This is the content right there. So I'll just paste that in there, and then in a PHP code block I can include or require. And again, I suggest require because if we don't have the header, it's not going to look right. The header.php, here, and then require the footer.php here. And now if we look at this, the index page, we still get to see the same page exactly. Just to show you, we can change the content of this page by just changing the index page, and we look at that, and then we just get that page. So there are a couple advantages to this. So when you want to create a new page, just require the header, require the footer. That's what you probably usually been doing, except for instead of requiring something, you went and you copied a section of HTML code out of your old page and you pasted it in here, and then you copied another section and pasted it below, and then changed your content in the middle. Well, this is just a program, or having PHP copying the stuff out of the header and copying the stuff out of the footer and putting it in its right place. And the good thing about this is your pages are really simple. When you're developing a new page, you're mostly focusing on the main content. You're not worried about the header or the footer. In fact, you can't even see what's in them. And this really will help you focus on what you need to develop for that page. And instead of focusing on everything else, all the other HTML that's inside of that page. There's something that doesn't look right in only one page, like only in your home page, you know that you need to look right here, and this is all you have, and then you just have the requires too. So it really simplifies each page, and each page is filled up with mostly the content that's for that page and not other stuff. As we go further on down the road, you'll start to develop really complex pages right here, and you'll be really glad that the only thing you have to worry about is the content right here, and the other stuff that you don't have to worry about is hidden away in these requires. So that works for our index page. I'm going to pull up the header here. And another disadvantage to the other method, including the content into our template, is we have to use these query string variables, and search engines don't really like using query string variables. They like names of real pages as well. There is some Apache rewrite rules that will take URLs that look like this and transform them to the way that they're supposed to look like. But really, having stuff like this is really pretty ugly. Even the .php/ is really pretty ugly, and so we should try to avoid that. And so we could just name this about.php and links.php. Okay, and then we'll refresh that, and notice it changes it on all the sites. Of course, about.php. We'll just require the header. Here. And require the footer. And now we have the about page working. And if we want to create a new page, this will be our links page. Here, I'll save this in my web directory. And of course, we need to include the header, and then down below include footer right there, and there, and now we have the links page, and they all look the same. They all have the same thing right there. Now another great thing about this, maybe I don't like the same bad navigation bar, maybe I just want to say, or a banner bar, maybe I want to have this be an ad bar instead, because I want to make some money and put some advertisements on my site, and now I have an ad bar up there instead. Now I changed it in one place, but if you notice, it's changed on all of the pages in my site. Now what if I want to add another page, like a resume? Well, I only have to add the link in on one page. And we have the resume page right there, the link, and if you notice, the link is on all of the pages because it's getting pasted into all of them. And then let's create a new page, include the header, and then we'll include the footer. Again, these could be includes or requires. Include once is, required once is. Should probably make them requires. We'll save this first. My sites. Let's say resume.php. And since I'm just going to try to be consistent and always use requires. And now I have my resume on here. And so that's how we can get templates working. Hopefully you can take advantage of this. Again, I recommend including a common header and common footer into your websites. So that way it's really easy to add a new page. You just modify the header and it changes all the pages, and you don't have a big complex switch statement. Students in the past that have used the switch statement to implement their pages have ran into a huge headache because it ends up becoming a really big switch statement and really complex.